My wife divorced me by email while I was deployed overseas. She emptied our joint account and moved her new boyfriend into our house. I responded calmly, understood, when she realized what I had done. Before we begin, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Your support keeps stories like this alive. My name is Daniel Wright. I had just returned to base after a 12-hour patrol through unpaved roads and black market checkpoints when I saw the email. The sender's name, Melissa Wright, didn't register at first. It was buried between mission logs, encrypted briefings, and a flagged advisory about a possible security breach on the northern perimeter. But the subject line was sharp. Final notice, divorce filed. I opened it without a reaction. That's what training does to you. You suppress the adrenaline, flatten the heartbeat. You read like a machine. Melissa had written it like a corporate memo. Cold, efficient, clinical. Daniel, I've filed for divorce. This isn't working. I've already moved out. Please don't make this more complicated than it needs to be. Except, she hadn't moved out. In the forwarded chain below, I saw the address. My house. The one still under my name. She hadn't moved out, she had moved someone in. I skimmed the PDF. No mention of infidelity. No mention of the fact that she'd emptied our joint checking account 3 days earlier. $74,890 transferred to M. Grant Holdings, a name I didn't recognize. I checked the timestamps. The withdrawal was made at 2:17 a.m. The same night I'd tried calling her after our convoy hit a roadside IED. She hadn't answered. Accessing our home security feed would have felt like a violation once. Not anymore. The footage loaded in fragments due to weak connection, but what I saw was enough. A man, taller than me, athletic build, tattoos on both arms, entering my house with a set of keys. He wasn't moving boxes, he was opening beer. Sitting on my couch, wearing my hoodie, he walked barefoot into the kitchen. Familiar, comfortable. That was the moment the detachment broke. My fingers trembled slightly over the trackpad, just enough to register it. Still, I didn't reply immediately. I drafted an email, one sentence only. Understood. Then I logged out, reached for my sidearm, and rejoined the patrol briefing as if nothing had changed. What Melissa didn't realize, and wouldn't for another 6 weeks, was that the man she had moved into my house wasn't unknown to me. I knew him intimately. And what I had done after that single word reply, it would leave her in disbelief. Because in the military, we're trained to observe first, then act with precision. And she never saw it coming. I didn't sleep that night. I wasn't restless, I was processing. Every mission has phases: reconnaissance, strategy, execution. Emotions cloud that sequence. So I stayed focused on phase 1, gather intelligence. 2 days later, I rerouted a call through a secure line and got access to an old contact in the signals unit. He owed me a favor. I didn't give him specifics, just a burner phone number Melissa had used for online deliveries. Within 6 hours, I had the data dump, locations, contacts, and a name. Marshall Grant, 33. Fitness consultant turned online coach. No registered business license. Multiple short-term addresses. 2 sealed court cases in another state. Domestic disputes, both dismissed. I looked at his known associates. Something clicked. 4 years ago, during a counter-smuggling sting in Eastern Europe, we'd picked up a low-level American posing as a freelance journalist. Same tattoo, same name. He'd been flagged for attempting to extract data from a vendor who had classified access to military supply chains. At the time, we had nothing concrete, but now he was sleeping in my bed. Melissa had no idea she'd brought a security risk into our home. Or maybe she did. Maybe that was the point. The next step wasn't revenge, it was containment. I filed a financial fraud inquiry through my private bank. Quiet, discreet. Based on the withdrawal pattern and account irregularities, the investigation triggered an automatic flag. The $74,890 was frozen within 48 hours. Melissa texted me the next day. "Why is our account locked? Did you do something?" I didn't answer, but I could picture her, holding the phone, pacing in that kitchen. Confused, annoyed, not scared yet, but that would come later. I had our Wi-Fi login changed. Security cams reset to factory mode. The one outside the garage, I disabled motion alerts. The one in the guest bedroom, I renamed the feed, Eyes Open. They never noticed. One evening, while off shift, I watched from the barracks. He was cooking. She was curled up on the couch, and that's when he took a call. He walked into the garage, shut the door, didn't realize the mic was hot. I turned up the volume. I'm not rushing her. The money's locked. Yeah, I'm working on it. She's panicky. That was all I needed. He wasn't just opportunistic. He was orchestrating something, and Melissa wasn't just betraying me. She was being used, and she was too blind to see it. I contacted a private cyber forensic analyst, someone I had worked with in a previous intel sharing operation. I gave her limited access. One directive: track all outbound digital communications from that house, especially from him. I need to know who he's talking to. She didn't ask why. She didn't need to. 3 days later, she called me back, where I could hear the tension in her breath before she spoke. Daniel, whatever this is, it's not just personal. He's transmitting metadata to a secondary encrypted node in Berlin, under a female alias, weekly. That was enough. I leaned back in my chair. Melissa thought she'd broken a marriage. She had no idea she might have compromised a military operation, and she didn't know. I was already en route. Perfect. Continuing now with the third section, maintaining the same tone. Rational, controlled, slow burn intensity, and emotional undercurrents beneath a calm surface. I landed in DC 3 days ahead of my official debrief schedule. Technically, I wasn't supposed to be stateside until next Monday, but the paperwork lag was always generous, just enough to operate under radar. I didn't go home. I checked into a corporate apartment I used during training rotations. No forwarding address, no notifications. Melissa still thought I was 9 time zones away. The first thing I did was visit my lawyer, not the one she knew, a different one, former JAG officer, tactical thinker. The kind of man who understands that some fights aren't won in court, they're staged behind closed doors. We reviewed my rights, our assets, the account withdrawal, the title on the house. I still owned 100%. She hadn't noticed that during the refinance 2 years ago, her name had been removed. I never thought it'd matter back then. It mattered now. Do you want to file for full property recovery? He asked. I shook my head. Not yet. He looked confused but didn't question it. Meanwhile, the forensic report came back. Marshall's transmissions weren't random. They followed a pattern. Once every Thursday night, he'd upload encrypted files through a VPN proxy masking as fitness plan PDFs. But the metadata didn't lie. Inside those uploads were snapshots of U.S. logistics planning, base layout maps, convoy routines, and what appeared to be password prompts from a compromised contractor device. He wasn't just using her. He was using our marriage. That night, I accessed the guest bedroom camera. They were arguing. She was crying. Something about the money freeze. He wasn't yelling. He was cold, sharp, practiced. You said he wouldn't react. You said he was overseas. He's a soldier, Marshall. He doesn't care about money. Then why is our account frozen, Melissa? There was a pause. Then he said something that changed everything. If this blows up, we both go down. That confirmed it. Remember, she knew, maybe not all of it, maybe not what he really was, but enough to understand she wasn't innocent. And that's when the plan shifted. It wasn't just about exposure now, it was about control. So the next morning, I did something simple. Quiet, strategic. I sent her flowers. 12 white orchids. Her favorite. The note attached simply said, "No hard feelings. Let's talk soon. Daniel." Within 4 hours, she texted me, "Wait, are you home? Just got back. Can we meet?" I waited 6 minutes before replying. Of course. I could feel her relief from 30 miles away. She thought I was extending an olive branch, but what she didn't know. The meeting place I picked, it wasn't neutral ground, it was wired, and someone else would be listening in. She walked into the cafe exactly 7 minutes late. Same beige coat, Same rushed expression, like she'd been debating whether to come at all. For a moment, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Nostalgia. But it vanished the second I noticed the nervous glances she...
"Daniel," she breathed, half smiling. "I wasn't sure you'd actually respond. I said we'd talk. I'm here." She sat down, eyes flicking toward the bag beside my seat. Not military issue, civilian, plain. She probably expected something more dramatic. She opened with small talk, asked about the deployment, my health. She even complimented my haircut, which was the same as it always had been. I let her talk. That's the thing about people carrying secrets. The more silence you give them, the more they try to fill it with explanations they haven't been asked for. Eventually, she got to the point. "I didn't want to hurt you," she said softly. "But things changed. I changed. Being alone all the time, it messed with me." I nodded slowly. "And him? Marshall? Did he change you too?" That froze her. She looked down at her hands. "He understands me. And when you were gone, he was there. Right, in our house, on our mattress, spending our money." Her head snapped up. "I didn't know he'd... You gave him access, Melissa. That's all he needed." She paled. I watched her try to steady her breathing. "Look, if this is about the money, I'll talk to the bank. We can figure it out. That's already being handled. But this isn't about money." I leaned in, voice steady. "It's about national security." Her lips parted slightly. A flicker of fear crossed her face. "What are you talking about?" I slid my phone across the table. Pressed play. The audio was clear, pulled from last week's mic recording in the garage. Marshall's voice. "She's panicking. I've got it under control." Then his next sentence. "Once the second set of files uploads, we disappear. She doesn't need to know everything." Melissa stared at the screen like it had burned her, then back at me. "What is this? He said it was just work, client stuff." "Encrypted payloads to Berlin, sent every Thursday from our home network, disguised as PDFs. You're listed as the account holder." Tears welled up. Real ones, maybe. I wasn't sure. I didn't care. "Daniel, I swear, I didn't know." "You didn't ask." She started shaking. People were beginning to notice, so I stood. "You have one chance to fix this. He's already flagged. But you? You can cooperate. What happens if I don't?" I didn't answer. I didn't have to. The plain-looking man who'd been pretending to read by the counter stood up as I left. She didn't even see him follow her out. Back at my apartment, I watched the footage from another angle. Saw her argue with Marshall that night. Saw him pack a bag. At 3:17 a.m., a black SUV intercepted him 2 blocks from the house. No sirens, no headlines, just silence. The kind of silence I used to believe meant justice. But then, at 6:02 a.m., Melissa called me. Her voice was small. "I made a mistake. I didn't know how deep it went. I didn't know who he really was." I let the pause hang. "And now you do. Daniel, please. I don't want to lose everything." I didn't answer immediately. Then I said, "You already did." And I hung up. It's been 6 weeks since the call. I haven't heard from Melissa since. Marshall was never officially arrested, not in any public record anyway. The agency classified it under an internal breach investigation. Translation: he's off the map, and she's been given immunity, conditional cooperation. She moved out 2 days after that cafe meeting. I know because a moving truck came at 8 a.m., loaded her things, and disappeared by noon. No note, no message. I didn't go back to the house. Instead, I sold it, quietly, and below market price, to a retired Marine and his wife starting a nonprofit. the kind of people who'd protect it with better intentions than we ever did. I kept only 2 things from that place. A framed photo from our honeymoon, not because I wanted to remember her, but because I wanted to remember who I was before all this. In the orchid vase, the one I sent before the meeting. It sits now on the shelf of my new apartment. Simple, clean, undecorated. A reminder that sometimes silence can say what confrontation never will, but closure, that didn't come until last night. I received an envelope, no return address, just my name, handwritten. Inside were 2 things, a cashier's check, the full amount she'd taken down to the cent, and a note, just 4 words, scribbled hastily. I finally understand, Mame. I stared at it for a long time. I thought I'd feel satisfaction, relief, some finality. Instead, I felt nothing. Because the truth is, betrayal doesn't end when the money is returned, or when the culprit vanishes. It ends when you stop letting it define you. So I tore the note in half, threw it away, and went for a run. No rage, no grief, just the cold morning air and the sound of my own breathing. Because for the first time in months, I wasn't chasing answers. I was moving forward.